Tonight on NewsWatch.
We talked to the Deputy Premier about the upcoming budget.
So just a question of how that will affect us.
Bell raises awareness for mental health issues.
And I think that the sooner people go to get help, the sooner they can get better.
University of Alberta dentistry students help those in need.
It helps out like people that can't afford the dentist, like me.
NewsWatch starts right now.
Good evening. Alberta's Premier has warned that Albertans should expect a tough budget in a couple of weeks.
And that has many on guard. Some post-secondary institutions are already making change in anticipation of a decrease in funding. Oakley Dell has more on that story.
The Premier has vowed not to increase taxes, so with an estimated shortfall of $6 billion from Alberta's energy revenues, those who rely on government funding are worried about where the money will come from.
Many post-secondary institutions are preparing for a tough budget, as they were expecting an increase of 2% for school funding. With the potential reduction, Grant MacEwan University is implementing a hiring freeze.
It's a temporary measure that we have in place right now, the hiring freeze, but it should be noted that all the verbal commitments that we have made, we will honor those commitments. It's the ongoing competitions that are being put on hold.
Students are bracing for the possible budget cut and fear for their programs.
I'm going into nursing, so it kind of is a little worrisome, just the fact that what if nurses who are teaching decide to leave and there's not enough to fill, and the teachers are overwhelmed. So it's just a question of how that will affect us.
With the consideration of budget cuts, post-secondary schools are starting to take action. But what does this mean for students? Deputy Premier and Minister of Advanced Education, Thomas Lukazik, says there are a number of options being considered in the tight budget.
But I have been clear already with presidents and with chairs that I will be expecting them to find efficiencies within their operating budgets. And that will mean salary freezes, perhaps. That will mean cutting out some of the administrative components within schools.
Lukazik also says he has been very clear with administrators of post-secondaries that he will not allow an increase of tuition at this time.
Thank you.
Lukazik also says schools have mixed reactions about the issues. Some are embracing it, while others are a bit more hesitant.
So what do you mean post-secondaries are embracing a possible budget cut?
The Deputy Premier says rather than expanding on programs, that colleges and universities can focus more on what they already have and make those programs more efficient.
When is the budget being announced?
The budget will be announced on March 7th, so that gives schools a chance to digest the numbers and determine what they're going to do next.
Thank you, Oakley. That was Oakley Dell live in our studio.
News, entertainment, sports. You're watching NewsWatch.
On Tuesday, over 96 million texts, Facebook shares, tweets and long-distance phone calls were made, all in support of a good cause.
For every effort, Bell contributed 5 cents towards mental health initiatives, but the campaign was about more than raising money. Caitlin Stewart is at Bell-owned CTV Edmonton with more.
1 in 5 Canadians suffer from a mental illness, and 2 in 3 suffer in silence, fearing rejection and judgment. Bell is hoping to lift that stigma with their Bell Let's Talk initiative. Bell Let's Talk was the #1 trending topic on Twitter Tuesday, with millions of tweets like this one. Bell Let's Talk. Thank you for speaking out and making the subject non-taboo. Keep the conversation going. And that is just what Bell intends to do.
Something that Bell started up several years ago as a way to get people talking about the issues around mental health and to try to remove some of the stigma that is attached with people who may be suffering from depression.
Wendy Barron has experienced the fear of this stigma firsthand.
I didn't know how it would be taken. I was afraid what my family would think. I was afraid what my friends would think. And that's what stopped me.
About 3 years ago, Wendy was showing signs of depression. Afraid of how people would react, she kept it to herself until it became too much, and finally she reached out for help.
When it gets to the point that you have to choose between, getting better or not, then you make that decision.
While Wendy found the courage to ask for help, most sufferers do not. and instead suffer in silence. With a 23% increase in participation, 2013's Bell Let's Talk initiative was the most successful to date, an encouraging sign that mental illness is getting easier to talk about.
It's a day-by-day thing for everybody, and I think that the sooner people go to get help, the sooner they can get better.
Bell raised $4.8 million with their Bell Let's Talk initiative, and even though the stigma of mental health still may be there, the conversation has definitely begun.
Thanks, Caitlin. That's Caitlin Stewart reporting from CTV Edmonton. A recently released sex offender has been arrested again after he allegedly breached 3 of his release conditions. A public warning was issued by the police on January 7, informing the public of the release of convicted sex offender John Taylor. The Behavioral Assessment Unit monitored Taylor after release and became informed of the alleged breach of conditions.
Reason for the conditions to be put on them in the first place is because they're deemed a high risk to reoffend, and which is also the reason for the media releases, to ensure that the public takes appropriate precautions.
Police want the public to know that the process of monitoring released offenders is working well, and that when appropriate, arrests will be made.
The Edmonton Bicycle Commuters Society held a public information session on Tuesday night.
So this presentation, we wanted to share information.
The goal was to gain insight into the public's views on the city's planned changes to bike lanes. Those in attendance were split on the issue. Some loved it, others wanted to complain about any issues it might cause.
And what we're hoping to tell people tonight is that we have some routes that we're coming out with, and we're hoping that people will give us some good input as to how we can design those routes to make it good for the communities.
Attendees were invited to write comments on maps across the gym. Businesses along the proposed routes are worried about the already limited parking, but the city says they plan to add to the existing parking.
An Alberta research team is shedding light on heart failure to save lives. Diastolic heart failure occurs when the heart fails to fill with enough blood. Ali is a volunteer heart failure patient who is a part of the research group, and he is happy to be involved in the study.
They will discover something new, and I will take more information about my case. And that's how I'm regulating my life with the help of the heart function clinic.
Researchers hope the new study will offer more effective and personalized treatment of heart failure patients.
The U of A dentistry program helped out low-income Edmontonians this week with its open-wide clinic. Over 250 patients were identified by their community leagues as eligible for treatment. The clinic was extremely busy, and it was free of charge to everyone who showed up.
I'm a single mom, and I work 2 jobs and still no coverage. So I want to get something for my daughter, so I came here, and then I found out that we can use it too. So.
The clinic was run by 4th-year dentistry students from the U of A and dental hygienist students from NAIT. Those who went are very thankful for the program.
Hundreds of students gathered this week at Harry Ainley High School to take part in an anti-bullying program. Students are participating in workshops used Valentine's Day to encourage others to create more acceptance. Akash is a member of the student council who organized the event and feels bullies is needed to open their minds for others to change it.
It's not something that we should be doing in society, and so we planned it on Valentine's Day simply because Valentine's Day is all about love, and we wanted to spread it away from just relationships. We wanted to promote the idea that individuals should love each other.
Students are signing a number of pledges and posting them in the wall around the school to create a positive atmosphere.
A new study finds 40% of new teachers in Alberta are quitting their job within the first 5 years. The study reveals that the immense pressure on new teachers due to large classes and escalating workloads are the main reasons for them leaving the profession. Nicole Pesic, a newly graduated teacher, explains the challenges that teachers face in schools.
It's a there's a lot more students per teacher, so that makes it a lot more difficult, bigger class sizes. And there's also more expectations on teachers. We have to sometimes be parents for the students as well as teachers.
False accusations of misconduct and violence against teachers are also factors facing new teachers in the field.
The CRTC has opened public hearings on proposed rules of wireless phone contracts. While the wireless companies oppose getting of 3 years contract terms, consumers groups are urging the CRTC to maximize of 2 years. The price has a 3 years.
If I'm planning to get another phone in about 6 months, I'll probably have to pay another $500 on top of this phone. So I think making it 2 years is going to make it so simple for everybody.
The current telecom contract rules allow the consumer to cancel service at any time, but with termination fees.
Pope Benedict XVI announced his resignation of the papacy on Monday, shocking Catholics everywhere.
No longer suited to an adequate exercise of the Petrine ministry.
This is the first time in over 600 years that a pope has resigned. In his speech to the College of Cardinals, Benedict said he'll deeply examine his conscience before God.
At this particular point, he, knowing the burden of office, he knows what he's up against, he knows his physical limitations, and in the context of examining the conscience in prayer, he has come to this determination.
Canada has extra incentive to watch the upcoming conclave, with 3 Canadian cardinals involved. Cardinal Marc Ouellette is considered a front-runner to replace Benedict.
Coming up after the break, we take a look at the common weight gained among freshmen.
More and more students are eating poorly when they start their college lives. We'll give you some tips on how to keep the pounds off.
One big thing is to try to think ahead.
This week in Nate Sports, wrestling takes a blow, the Ooks play an unusual game, and a high school goalie exits his game in a non-traditional manner. All that and more.
Coming up in weather, we're coming off a beautiful winter week, but this weekend it's going to start to get a little chillier. I'll have all that for you after the break.
If you're a gardener, you've likely heard of black knot tree fungus.
Yes, but if you haven't heard about it yet, you probably will this spring. Black knot tree fungus has been in Alberta as long as anyone can remember. But this year it is becoming a lot more common. The fungus is very deadly to trees.
And what happens is it chokes the branch off here, and then the energy can't go up through here. You'll never get rid of it once it's in the tree, but you can slow it down is about all you can do.
Black knot especially affects cherries and plum trees, and is extremely contagious. Infected branches need to be removed quickly, and the cherries disinfected so the spores don't spread.
So the weather's been pretty nice the last couple weeks, eh?
Yeah, it was very cool and very nice.
Yeah, it's better than most Februaries we've had. Brandon Lynch joins us outside with sports, with weather.
Yeah, you guys, it's been beautiful this week for winter, but this weekend's going to be kind of a transitional period. It's going to start getting a lot colder next week, so let's take a look. Jasper's going to escape the cold. They could get as high as +8, and it's going to be partly cloudy there. In Fort McMurray, it's going to be very cold. They can get as cold as -17, and they might get 2 to 5 centimeters of snow overnight tonight. In Calgary, the low is going to be -8, and the high is going to be -5. It's going to be mostly cloudy all day. And in Edmonton, the high will be -6, and the low will be -11. That's about average for this time of year, and those will be clearing skies. The record is +11 in 1988 for the high, and the record low is -47 in 1884.
Weather brought to you by NR92, the station for the students.
So I know a lot of you guys were hoping that it was going to be a nice, warm holiday for you, for the students leaving on reading week, but it's actually going to be pretty frosty, so hopefully a lot of you guys are getting out of here.
Do you have any plans for reading week?
Yes, for this weekend I plan to go out for cycling maybe, but this weather, so I have to change my plan.
Oh, I'm just going to stay inside. I don't want to go out there. In a recent study, 20% of college students gained 10 pounds or more during their first year. This is known as the freshman 15 and can happen to any student that is not careful. Our reporter Elise Darwish has more on that story.
The freshman 15 is a commonly known phrase among students. It has been said that on average, a first-year college student will gain about 15 pounds due to stress, a busy schedule, and long days.
Well, I find going to college, I eat a lot simpler, lots of craft dinner, and say itcher bands. And with that being said, I do need to work out a little more.
Well, you have to start eating more at school, just depending on classes and breaks, and that's not as healthy as you'd like it to be sometimes.
As students, we can talk about it and dwell on it, or we can take action and get moving. A busy schedule can make eating well and exercising a difficult task, but it's not impossible. Sometimes it may seem like the freshman 15 is unbeatable, but there are ways to avoid it, such as packing your own lunch and exercising daily. Craig Hamiluk, a personal trainer for over 16 years, shows me how easy it is to incorporate into your daily life. With exercises such as squats with weights, pull-ups, and leg crunches, taking a few minutes out of your day will make you feel better.
Back up. Sure, you're looking great here. One big thing is to try to think ahead and plan ahead. Taking the stairs, doing any types of activity like that is very, very important. It all adds up. Also, just trying to get something done every day, like some sort of exercise every day, anything like that would be great.
So the next time you go to grab a cinnamon bun with your coffee, maybe think twice about it. Elise Darwish, Nate NewsWatch.
Another Olympic sport have been dropped so to make room for something new.
Yeah, and it's rumored roller sports or wakeboarding might be involved now. Bianca Millions joins us in sports.
Yeah, so wrestling can throw its name in the hat with sports like karate and softball to try and get back into the Olympics. The International Olympic Committee has announced that wrestling will no longer be an Olympic sport starting in 2020. While it may be 7 years away, the aftershocks are already being felt. Wrestling is one of the oldest sports in the Olympic world. Popular in schools from elementary to university levels, the IOC's announcement could have major implications for up-and-comers.
They don't have the professional NBA or NHL where they get paid, and that's their motivation. It's always the Olympics is sort of that standard which our higher level athletes are looking towards. So you take that away, it's going to be harder sometimes to keep kids into sports, into this sport, which is a very difficult one.
While Christensen believes wrestling club enrollment will remain high in lower levels, the lack of professional goals for kids to set will make it difficult for the sport to thrive. The Eskimos have signed their star slot back Fred Stamps through the 2014 season.
Fred hasn't been identified as our top playmaker. That's well known around the league, and it's very important. Any offense is going to try to get the ball into its playmaker's hand, and Fred definitely is a playmaker, and we definitely have to find a way of making certain he gets his touches so that we can have better opportunities to win football games.
The Esks also set their coaching staff, among those a Nate radio and television graduate. Jordan Maximic was promoted to offensive assistant. And the Nate Ooks continued their game against the Concordia Thunder on Tuesday night. The game was rescheduled due to problems with the boards at Concordia. The game starts with 6:46 left in the first period. The score is 1-0 Concordia, but Nate quickly rectifies that with an almost immediate goal. It's 1-1 going into the second. The game is smooth, penalty-free, tied up, when defenseman Michael Westphal takes a shot on net that goes wide and hits the stick of Dante Borelli, giving him his 8th goal of the season. It's 2-1 Ooks. Still in the second, number 15, Michael Peluso takes a pass from Josh Lazowski, snapshot and in off the post for the Ooks' 3rd consecutive goal heading into the 3rd period. Start of the 3rd, number 20, Kyle Harris takes a high-sticking penalty, giving Concordia a power play and a wide-open path to score their 2nd goal. However, Harris, out of the penalty box, snags the puck from the Thunder's corner and gets his 10th goal of the season, unassisted, earning him MVP of the game. It's 4-2 Ooks. Concordia answers that goal reasonably quickly, with number 25 Ian Hall sniping a shot into the top corner of the Ooks net, leaving a 1-goal gap to fill for the Thunder. Concordia takes a penalty, giving Nate one last power play of the game, which they use to its full advantage. Number 11 Kevin Carthy takes a pass from MVP Harris, finishes the game 5-3.
It was nice to get that 4th goal there to give us a 2-goal lead there, and I got pretty lucky getting that one to Carthy. The goalie put it on my blade and worked out pretty well.
The Ooks are currently in first place, headed into the ACAC Championships. And a Minnesota high school game had an unusual ending earlier this week. Chaska had a single goal gap to close in order to tie their game against Farmington. Austin Krause, goalie for Farmington, was obviously slightly disgruntled and took the game into his own hands. After the help from Krause, Chaska managed to win the game 3-2. The world of martial arts is ancient, vast, and increasingly popular, with Taekwondo being one of the most well-known. I joined Master Craig Stanley of Phoenix Taekwondo to learn how to kick some butt. Master Stanley taught me the basic categories of Taekwondo: kicking, blocking, striking, and punching. First, how to make a fist. Thumbs outside, trapping the first 2 fingers, and hit with the same 2 knuckles. Next, punching. Aim for the center line of your body. Always torque your wrist at the last second for the most impact, and keep your other arm up as a guard. Then the strike. Keeping your forearm parallel to the ground and follow through is essential if you want any chance of breaking a board or someone's bones. For the kick, Master Stanley told me my foot should feel like it was in a 5-inch heel. He scored me at 80% correct first try. Then the moment of truth. Could I use my strike to break a board? No. How about my kick? No.
Taekwondo has punching, kicking, blocking, and striking. Probably the most kicks of any martial art out there. In fact, I don't have to say probably, it is for sure. The most kicks anywhere. We do jumping kicks, flying kicks, spinning kicks. That doesn't mean that people that can't do those things can't take Taekwondo either, because there's tons of other moves. In fact, there's over 3,200 individual techniques in Taekwondo.
So, I had just recovered from my Yakupov bruises when I went to break that board, and now I have a big old bruise right along my arm. Yeah.
So I think it is like more easier what I thought, but it is like different.
It's very different.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that. I'm just going to stay away from Taekwondo for now.
It's wise, yeah.
The Edmonton Food Bank was wrapping pennies for a great cause this week.
Not only did they get help from us, but Premier Radford has won.
People have been dropping off in droves. Coming up in entertainment, we're going to take a look at the Edmonton Winter Roundup Festival and a Canadian who could be heading to space. All that and more coming up in entertainment.
Nate NewsWatch jackets provided by
Edmonton Food Bank has its first mass penny drive.
So Amor and I decided to go help out the volunteers and roll some pennies. Over the last month, the food bank has been receiving pennies from their supporters. Volunteers, including Premier Alison Redford, spent Wednesday morning rolling all the pennies.
People have been dropping off in droves, not just a little container, buckets full of pennies in support of us.
They've rolled over $2,000 worth, and they're not even half done. Amor and I enjoyed our time there, and if you'd like to help out, you can go to edmontonfoodbank.ca. Coming up in entertainment, we'll take a look at a Canadian who could make history.
And a look at the 5th film in the Die Hard franchise.
Despite only being in its 4th year, a local blues and folk festival is proving itself as a staple Edmonton event by attracting bigger artists and bigger crowds than ever before. Sponsored by radio station CKUA, the Winter Roots Roundup will feature Grammy-winning artist Mickey Hart. The festival also aims to celebrate local talent, including Alberta folk singer Maria Dunn.
It's a really exciting opportunity to maybe go, and in some cases for me it's been revisiting songs that I heard my dad play in the kitchen.
By including a vast array of music and showcasing several films, Winter Roots hopes to connect a younger generation with the blues, soul, and folk music that has become a staple part of the Alberta culture. The annual event will run from February 21st to 24th and will be held at Festival Place in Sherwood Park. A local Edmonton man is 7th among thousands of Canadians in a contest that could take him to the stars. Student Christopher Clark even managed to gain support from local radio hosts after competing in a series of competitions to gain their support.
So I sent Pepper and Dylan a message over Facebook, and another girl here, Cassandra, who's also competing in the competition, sent them a message the same day. So they were sort of in a pickle and wanted to figure out how to pick between us to sponsor us.
The competition from Virgin Radio is just the beginning for Chris. If he is among the top 2 finalists in the Axe Apollo contest, he will receive a trip to Orlando, Florida. There, Chris would go head-to-head with an opponent in several training missions. If he won, Chris would be taken to space. Voting for the Axe Apollo contest closes in August. This week's viral video challenges you to open your eyes to the world you've grown accustomed to. Featuring stunning visual imagery from 12 cities around the world, the video took its maker Reed Gower 6 months to film. In order to get his shots above the atmosphere, Gower sent a video camera to space in a lunchbox. If you want to see more of Gower's stunning natural time lapses, the full video can be seen on YouTube under the name Natural Phenomena. Bruce Willis is back in the 5th installment of the famous film franchise that refuses to die hard. Set for release on Valentine's Day, A Good Day to Die Hard will certainly offer an alternative to the traditional romantic comedy. With a script crafted by the same writer as X-Men and the A-Team, it promises R-rated action. The movie centers around former police officer John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, who ventures to Russia after learning that his estranged son Jack, played by Jai Courtney, is standing trial for murder. However, when the courtroom Jack is set to appear in is blown to pieces by terrorists, it becomes clear that corruption is running rampant. Jack is actually a covert CIA agent protecting a U.S. government informant. The informant, named Kamarov and played by Sebastian Koch, has been trying to expose some of Russia's most merciless, crooked, and ruthless politicians. The father-son duo soon uncovers an even greater terrorist plot that could put the lives of billions on the line. A Good Day to Die Hard is now in theaters, and we'll have you saying yippee-ki-yay!
So, Amor, would you ever go to space?
Yeah, it would be very interesting, but I prefer to stay on Earth. I think it is more safer.
Yeah, it would be really interesting, but at the same time, there's some safety risks. Thank you for watching Nate Newswatch. Have a good night.
See you next time.